I don't have mics.
You're on now.
Got it.
Call to order Tuesday, June 10th, 2025 meeting of the Gun Barrel City Economic Development Corporation, meeting at 1720 West Main Street in Gun Barrel City, Texas. Establish a quorum from my left.
Alexander here.
Rankin here.
Key here.
Damiano here.
Matthews here.
Bond here.
We have a quorum. Please stand for a moment of silence, prayer, and pledge of allegiance. Father, we come to you and just thank you so much for allowing us to be in your presence, being in your presence and honoring your name. Lord, give us strength, give us courage, give us wisdom to do what is best for the folks of this city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge.
Over there.
They moved it.
Yeah, they moved it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Before we get started, I'd like to thank Bobby Edwards for being here with us from the City Council. Thanks for joining us tonight. Looks like we're kind of slim otherwise, so thanks for being here. Move on to citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens' comments listed?
We do not. Okay.
All right. New business, item number 4. Consider and take action to approve the May 13th, 2025 EDC meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the May 13th, 2025 meeting minutes.
I would like to make a comment. We need to modify the meeting minutes to remove my name as being present.
Would you like to amend your motion?
Say that again, Linda.
I'd like to modify the last minutes that I was not present, and it indicates I was.
Okay, I'll amend my, so modified.
Remember you not being here.
I was at the workshop, but not up here.
Okay.
I had to leave.
So you've have an amended motion by Mr. Damiano, seconded by me. Any other discussion? Hearing none, vote to my right.
Bond, yes.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Matthews, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Key, yes.
Rankin, yes.
Alexander, yes.
Motion passes. The May 13th, 2025 EDC meeting minutes as amended shall be admitted to our record.
See that?
Item number 5, consider and take action to approve the April 2025 EDC financials. We're going to turn that over to Dr. Smith to give us a quick
Sorry, I
presentation.
can't see that monitor way down there, so Stephen is trying to give me something I can read. Gun Barrel City Economic Development Corp. is in great financial condition. The full packet was attached. I did send it to Ms. Rankin, who took a look at it. She'll be happy to know I already have, oh, look at Stephen, there you go. I've already got May done, so I will be sending that to you shortly. I just wanted to get this meeting on. But those are our bank account balances, and right now, the EDC has a net income of $409,602, and that's great. I will tell you later, we have a lot of applications for reimbursement grants, and so that puts us in a great place to be able to fund some of those things and be set up for success for next year funding those projects. Happy to answer any questions.
I would like to ask one question. Will, in May, we be able to say under our notes receivable that GBC Medical Associates will be $30,000?
That is their outstanding amount, which is why I have left it as that. I won't be able to offset that with the 30 until I receive the check. I did try to follow up with Jeff today, but I haven't heard from him. I know he has a number of cities, so he may be at a council meeting tonight. But once we do that, then we'll work with the accountant to offset that. This comes right out of the accountant's books, and they're still showing it as that amount due on
41,000.
that loan until we get that check.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I do. I thought I understood something, and apparently I don't, so I could use some help on it. On the financials, there's a SSB Big Chief under the loans for, notes payable. SSE Big Chief Landing for a total amount of $58,558. That's just rounded. I'm assuming that's the original loan that was taken out to buy Big Chief, and that's the balance left on it?
I assume as well. I know the Pier 334 is the $500,000 loan, so I would assume that is the loan.
That was actually my next question, but I figured that was the $500,000 loan.
The 400, I 100% know is the $500,000 loan that was taken out as the reimbursement, which we will talk a little bit about tonight. I can do some research and see specifically what that was and when it was approved. It's just reported each month on our financials, and we make payments on it, so.
Here's why I'm asking the question. I was on the EDC at the time that we bought that, and we paid around $600,000 for it, okay? And so I'm looking at that, and I'm thinking, my God, we're down to 50 some odd $1,000. If that's a payoff, maybe we should pay it off. It's just a thought.
We have had that conversation. The one thing that I
Who
warned
has?
the board, Ms. Rankin and I and Stephen, the one thing I warned is let's get through this year and kind of see where we are. Any payoff we do, we are taking away from the funds we have to do loans and grants when we just rolled out a brand-new program. So we would be taking $58,000 cash out of our operating to go do that. So we kind of just made the decision or made the recommendation to hold a little bit. Let's see where we are closer to the end of the year with our net income before we do that. And if at the end we've got great net income, let's pay that off, and then we don't have to mess with it anymore, so.
No, and I get that, and you could probably clarify some of this, because, I mean, we haven't had much come across our desk from a standpoint of loans or grant requests, and you're saying you have a bunch of them, so,
We're going to talk about that in the director's update.
say that?
I'll update you all in the director's
I
update.
figured that, okay. Okay, thank you very much.
You bet.
Any other questions? Hearing none,
I'll make a motion that we accept the May 13th, 2025, no, pardon me. We'll approve the April 2025 EDC financials.
I'll second.
motion made by Mr. Bond, seconded by Ms. Rankin. Hearing no further discussion, a vote from my left.
Alexander, yes.
Rankin, yes.
Key, yes.
Damiano, yes.
Matthews, yes.
Bond, yes.
Motion passed. April 2025 EDC financials are hereby incorporated into our permanent record. Item number 6, receive an update from our executive director. Dr. Smith?
Oh, I definitely can't read that, Stephen.
Most definitely may.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. With that TV behind Mr. Bond not working, I can't see that TV way down there, and I can't see the monitor Stephen has. So with some glasses, we're back in business. 2 weeks ago, we signed the agreement with Retail Coach that was presented to the EDC board and to City Council and approved. We met with the team from Retail Coach on June the 4th to discuss feedback from the Las Vegas show they just participated in. A couple of issues in GBC that we need to address. One of the things that came up was the sign in front of Yamato. That's an empty sign. It just looks bad to businesses that come here, so that's something our code enforcement officer is working on as we speak. And then kind of their ongoing recruitment efforts and businesses they're working with, really set up. You know, they have a very prescriptive plan of what they do and how they do it. And so they kind of briefed us on some businesses that they're talking to and working with, and some things that they're helping us do on the side, as well as working with some of those businesses that have talked about coming here but are on hold. And they will be at the July meeting in person for an update with the board at that meeting.
Could you say the name of the sign?
Yamato, the
Got Got it.
sushi, Asian, next down, I don't know,
Yes.
down here. There is a sign in front of it that is maybe this big around, that's real tall, that I guess the previous business, it was their sign.
Yeah.
And.
Taco Bell,
Sorry.
KFC.
It is. That's exactly what it is, a KFC sign. But it, at some point, got blown out, and when Yamato purchased the building or started working on their restaurant, code enforcement approached them, and they had a great idea of what they were going to do with that sign. It never really happened. It was something that just really stood out to the retail coach as an opportunity to not have just a vacant sign standing there. So our code enforcement team at the city will now start working with them to either do something with the sign, make it a sign for their business, or start the removal of that sign, because it can't sit there by code vacant. So we'll do that. Loan and grant applications, so we are still kind of in a holding pattern for the one big business, large business application. I have not received that yet, but during the second quarter, we received one application, and that was Gray Ghost, and we have considered that. EDC has had their had their reading and approval. Council has had their first reading. They will have their second reading at the June meeting. We have posted the appropriate public notices that we have to post so that we can then fund the reimbursement to Gray Ghost. So they were able to provide Stephen with the 5-year warranty, so he has that in writing. So we had kind of held off when I introduced it to council. I told them we're waiting on this, but I believe they will be able to get it. He was able to bring that to Stephen earlier in the month, so we should be good to go on that one. But we do have now 5 more applications that the Loan and Grant Subcommittee will meet the first week of July to discuss. So Stephen is getting that together now. They have through the end of the month, so they have April, May, June to submit those. So they have they have March, April, they have April, May, June. They have through the end of June, June 30th, to submit those applications. Then they will all be considered at one time at the 1st of July, and we are getting those packets together so we can send them out. We'll have kind of a kickoff meeting first with the Loan and Grant Committee, kind of talk through each one, look at all their stuff, and then we can even schedule a second meeting where we can bring in each person to talk through what they really want to do. But that'll give you a really good idea of the opportunity we have out there. There's a lot of sign grants. There's a lot of building facade requests, so those kinds of things, which is super exciting. That's exactly what we want to spend that money on, is facade and signs. So it's good stuff. And we have put it all together in a packet with all their information. We verify that we have everything that's required. There's a cover sheet that goes on it. So Stephen and I have been working on that to get those together.
May I ask something? Are any of the applications, any of the businesses we've called on?
At least one. I don't know.
Which one?
At least one. One has had a grant with us before, and the other 3 are all one owner on a building. So
Okay, thank you.
I know one is. So
Okay.
we'll have to look at that list and see if anybody has talked to one of the other ones. And then we signed. Stephen arranged with Southwest Recovery to recover the Slap and Good loan. We've signed that contract with them to do that. That is we only pay if they collect. They told Stephen that they would know in 6 to 8 weeks whether or not that loan was collectible or not. They do visit the business. They do get in touch with them. They do all the things. And they only collect if we collect. So that has been signed. We went to 2 or 3 of them and looked at 2 or 3 different companies. I have some experience working with Southwest Recovery in my past life. And so they've always been on the up and up. They're great business partners. So, but they believed in 6 to 9 weeks, they would know for sure whether or not they would ever see a dime of that. And then we would have a way to move forward. And then the board can decide how they want to move forward from there. The executive director job description, I sent that to all of you after the city council meeting and the recruitment brochure. I didn't get any feedback. That has been posted on TML, on SGR, and posted. Stephen is giving me the nod on TEDC, which is the Texas Economic Development Corporation. TML is Texas Municipal League. That's where people like me, that's where anybody that works for a city goes and looks for a job. So they send out constant reminders and job requests. SGR is a local recruiting firm that a lot of people hire, but they have a great job board. where they sort the jobs by location and type. And so we got it on there as well. They've had a few others posted, so we got it on there as well.
Is there a cost to that?
SGR, do you remember? Yeah, SGR does have a cost. TEDC does not have a cost, and TML does not have a
I wouldn't
cost,
think
but
so,
it's nominal.
because we're members, so,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it's nominal for SGR, but it's worth it because they have a much bigger reach. So it's worth
Do
that
we have any,
investment on that.
do we
Have we
have
had
any
any-
applications?
I do not know. Mickey and I have been about ear deep in budget, and so I didn't ask her today. She's off on Mondays, and I didn't get a chance to ask her today. She's out tomorrow, so I'll ask her at the end of the week and see how we are. Once Steven started getting it posted, Mickey put it up on the city website, so it would be there for people to fill out applications. And then
Okay, if I might ask, where are the sponsors going to?
me.
You? Okay.
And then the updated marketing brochure, any questions they have or responses will come to me. So updated marketing brochure, you have that in front of you. Stephen showed me where to get those little boxes, where that little information in those boxes on the back came from, so we were able to update it with 2024 information. We'll do the same on our website because we are updating our website. So our website should be done end of June, middle of July, I think, is what she told me. They're doing a full rehash. It will look a lot like the city website, so there's that consistency there. There will be less options at the top so that it's more user-friendly. I'm a one-click person. I think 90% of the people who go to our website are one-click people. They want to click what they need, and they want to find it. And so that's really what we're working on with them to do, update pictures, update stats, all that good information. We have a lot of information from Retail Coach about our primary and secondary retail area, so we're going to be able to use a lot of that. And then we updated that brochure, and then if you haven't seen somewhere floating around the dais is the 2025 Rangers yearbook. Man, we could not have stumbled into a better deal. I would love to take credit that we found it, and I just am a good negotiator. So we were able to get that at a significantly reduced rate. We are the only city in the area outside of Longview. Longview is the next closest city. There's some out of state. There's some Carrollton Farmers Branch, a lot of visitors bureaus up that way, but we're in the middle of the book. So good news, the ad, Stephen did that ad in-house, so we didn't pay somebody to do it. He worked with Brooke, and they did it in a program called Canva, which is the same program, and the city pays for that, so we have access to it. And they did that in there, so we didn't have to pay somebody to design an ad, and then we got such a great, great deal on that, and it's out. Stephen and I just today were like, we need to call them, and then that box showed up at 4 o'clock on my desk, so.
Well, my question is, did Stephen write those words? Did he come up with the verbiage?
Stephen and Brooke did the whole ad.
It's
So he brought it to me, and I said, across the hall, and he went to Brooke, and he and Brooke tinkered with it a little bit and put some white in it and made it easy to read, and
It looks so good.
it's
Maybe
great.
you want to move
and
here all over again.
Cannot beat it. We have this untapped talent that I'm finding, and unfortunately for them, I'm abusing them, so it's amazing. So that's kind of what we have going on. A lot of the stuff is in a really good place. That's great. So we're kind of coasting. We'll start working on budget. I'm trying to get the city budget done, so I really know kind of what the EDC will have in sales tax. Y'all don't have significant swings in your budget because it's pretty well cut out, but we'll get that to you. Probably a draft at the next meeting. And Linda and I'll get together before then, but we'll get you a draft of that at the next meeting, and then we'll be able to see really. I love to watch that net income number go up because that really just means we have more money to do those loans and grants, and that's what it's for at the end of the day, right? We need those facades looking good on Main Street. We need signage looking good. So hopefully we can spend some of that on that. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any further questions for Dr. Smith on the update? Hearing none, let's move on to item number 7. Receive an update on the Pier 334 project and the $500,000 reimbursement grant awarded in 2021.
Mr. Haynes wanted to be here tonight. I apologize. He is out of town. He won't be back until Thursday. And so he sent me over. He and I talk constantly, but what you see on this piece of paper came directly from him. Really just an update of where the project is and what all he has going on. But he will be here in a couple days and said he was happy to come to another meeting, but just the timing didn't work out the way it should have. The parcel of land behind Crossroads Liquor, which you all know was the additional parking spaces that he had to have some variances from the city on, he has been able to purchase that from the Bell Estate. And he did pay premium price. She held him to what we had all agreed on, I will tell you that. But they close on June the 12th at 3 p.m., and he's ready to go with that. They are currently placing temporary power on the site. The foundation engineering is done. He is still waiting on Encore, but it should happen in a short span, I hope, to pull the existing poles. The unique thing about Encore is I've worked with them my whole career, and when you have storms, those take priorities. And the people that pull poles are the same people that make sure people have electricity. And so when there is an issue, they go to where people need electricity, and those poles stay till they have time.
Yeah.
And there are some pros and cons to that. I had an entire road project held up for months because of that. I tried to do a road rebuild in the middle of the spring, and everybody was losing power, and there was nobody from Encore to come pull it because they were in Missouri, running lines, helping other people get power. So that has been a little bit of the holdup. I think we've got him on track. I was able to connect him with my resources as the city manager to really help close that gap and get some hard timelines. As you all know, there will be underground power, permanent underground power, but they probably will be overhead lines for a little while they do the construction.
May I ask you on the engineering, are we talking structural or are we talking geotechnical kind of engineering?
For the foundation,
Well, I didn't know, you just said engineering was still happening, so it's for the foundation?
the foundation engineering is done. We have his first set of plans for plan review. I believe what I currently have is the hotel. And it's in the review process. We're very, very close to being done. We hired an outside partner to help us. You guys have heard me say this 100 times, and I will continue to say it 100 more. You can have no better partner than the Hilton. The Hilton reviews every single plan before we see it, and their standards are extremely high. And I have worked with the Hilton in my past, and it was the same there. By the time we get the plans, there is nothing wrong with it because the Hilton has literally, they hold themselves to higher international standards than we do, more recent. And so they all fit within our stuff, no problem. Bureau Veritas was able to get us back reviews very quickly on all the fire equipment. But we're almost complete with that. I'll check in with Shannon tomorrow on that. And then once we get his plan review done, then he will apply for permits. Because of how permitting works, we don't want him to pull permits until he's ready to do the foundation, right? So we don't want him to pull permits and then sit on it. So we kind of are working with that timing with them. Our team has a very close relationship with Stephen and his team, and they're constantly talking and working that out to make sure we get everything done. Once we get everything approved for the hotel, we then will get everything for the other buildings and stuff on site. So
Is the city still using a third party for our plan review?
we do not. We do 99% of our plan review in-house.
Okay.
We did outsource our fire plan review because with losing Chief Lindeman, we don't have a plan reviewer for fire in-house, so we outsourced that. And then he said that he is in the process of gathering bids for the supplies for all the work to be done. That is a huge undertaking because he's serving as his team is serving as a general contractor. There's not a third party out there doing that for him. His team is doing that. I do know that he is working with local vendors to get those bids. So last I heard, there was a local vendor that was helping him. And then he is slated, he's doing grading now. So they are finishing up the grading. If you haven't been down, they're moving a ton of dirt. Great news for the city is that any overage in that very clean, great dirt he's giving to us. So they just take it down to our shop and dump it, and that's great for us because we then get to use it on projects. So it's great dirt, that's good news. And then next step will be stormwater drainage. So it's phases. and they happen a little bit at a time, and they're sometimes look to be very slow, but once they start going, they will go quick. So that's kind of where he is right now. If you have questions for him specifically, you can email them to me. I'm happy to send them to him. Like I said, Stephen and I talk at least once a week, just about project updates, about what's going on. He's in City Hall at least once a week, getting permits and talking to Shannon and getting reviews done and all that good stuff. So
Who is our general contractor on that?
I believe YNS Services is the general contractor. I don't know if he's using a third party. I believe it is him. So the city is partnering with Bureau Veritas for some of our review, but we don't, all the plans come from YNS Services. So they weighed about 50 pounds and they were about this big around for the hotel. The UPS guy said, I'm not doing this anymore. Y'all need to do this digitally. So great news for that. And then the real reason that we're talking about this tonight is back on August the 6th of 2021, the EDC approved a $500,000 buy-in. I'm going to call it a reimbursement grant because that's the easiest thing to call it. The EDC took out a loan and then paid for some things, and I will show you the full list. It's in your packet as well. Paid for some things associated with the project. Things like surveys and appraisals and geotech studies. It did a Main Street purchase. It did some engineering. Compliance reviews, attorney reviews, town halls, those kinds of things. And that was all part of our initial performance agreement, was land and some cash, and this cash is what that was. I'm not asking for approval tonight. I am doing this presentation more for transparency. There are a lot of people sitting here tonight. I think Keith Bond is the only one, and I had to have some help from Keith on this project as I was putting it all together. Keith was and Brian Kroll were the only two people on there, maybe Rita, that were still on there back then. So I wanted to make sure that I had the best information. EDC approved this on August 6, 2021. Council approved it on August 20th, 2021, and then we started ticking away at that $500,000 for things associated with the project. All the invoices on this have been accounted for. I worked with YNS Services. Randy is the finance director for Mr. Haynes, and Randy and I sat down one day and just started taking notes and comparing invoices, and I had to call Hardin, and I had to, Stephen. Stephen had to call Hardin, and Stephen had to call Mundo, and Stephen had to call the attorney and just get copies of all of those invoices. A lot of the stuff we did was reimbursement. They would pay for it, we would write them a check. Some of it we paid for directly to that vendor, and so we now have a copy in a packet of every single invoice. You will see on the list, the invoice is done by date because that was the easiest way, but they are in date order in a packet, so Stephen has all of that information. When I first started, there was some concern that we had overspent the $500,000 and that we were anywhere from $30,000 to $40,000 had spent more than we had. But as we started digging and as Mr. Bond continually was in my ear asking questions, we realized that we had not bought that property. And so that outstanding $85,000 for the property hadn't been spent. When the board made the decision that we were going to turn that over to Mr. Haynes and let him buy that property, it became just a matter of us reimbursing him for anything that was left. So we never overspent the money, even though there was a rumor out there that we were $30,000 more than we should have. That never happened. Here is every single thing we've spent. To date, we've spent $436,531.88. That leaves a difference of $63,468.12. I will do this presentation with you tonight. I will do the same presentation at City Council because I believe it is important for transparency, but I don't need permission. This was something that those boards back in 2021 approved, and we are sticking to that performance agreement. This was part of that performance agreement. And so for transparency's sake, you can see there, I have a copy of the sales contract for the Main Street, the budgeted $85,000 for the Sandy Shores property. We will write a check to YNS for $63,468.12. And that makes us square on our $500,000 commitment. So it is not overspent in any way. I want that to be loud and clear to everybody listening or watching. It was not, we are not in the hole. That just wraps up our $500,000 commitment.
So to be clear, what it's doing is taking us out of a breach situation where we're
Right.
fulfilling our portion of the
Correct.
contract.
This was part of the performance agreement. There was property and there was a $500,000, what did you call it, Keith? Cash commitment, if you will.
I called it a $5,000, not to exceed $5,000 revolving account.
Yeah, so, and that's really what it was
500.
that 500,000 revolving account to pay and reimburse invoices out of. And so this just makes us whole, completes our portion of that agreement. The property has been all legally transferred the way it was supposed to, and this will wrap up our final. I have an invoice from them, so as soon as I do this presentation to council, Stephen will have the check cut the first week of July, and we will get it to Mr. Haynes, so.
So that there's no misunderstanding. The $500,000 that we're going to make square here, plus the amount of money that we spent on the property, is our buy-in for the expectation interest in the partnership.
That is correct.
Exactly, 16.7%, Mr. Key, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
17%.
One other question. The last time you and I had a chat about this, you referenced an invoice that was in question.
All invoices have been accounted for.
Okay, so that invoice has been cleared up. You're going to make a presentation to city council, similar to this, if not the same thing, and they don't have to approve anything.
This was already approved when
That's
the
what I'm
money
getting
was
at. It's
borrowed.
already been approved, so then you can write the check right after that meeting.
We will write the check. I have already talked to Mr. Haynes. The check will be cut in our first of the month check run. So we write checks on the 1st and the 15th. That's when we'll write the check.
Just asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
And our pens are already warmed up to sign the check.
Yeah, y'all been busy.
Are we going to be pulling money out of one of our accounts, like the Prosperity Projects account?
Yes, ma'am, that's where you will want to do it out of. You could do it out of projects or sales tax revenue. We just want to make it whole, so we can transfer it in, but it's not necessary to make a budget amendment for this. This was already approved, and that's really why I'm doing this, is because it doesn't require a budget amendment. We can even take it out of our current budget. We have enough net income to do that, so I am not 100% sure where that $500,000, what account it initially went into. Most of you have heard me say this has been a bit of a paperwork nightmare for Stephen and I. We've been able to round it all up. We know we got the $500,000 and it went into an account. Just not sure 100% which one of these accounts it went to, because things have been spent out of them since 21. We've transferred money. So the money is there to do it. We probably will take it out of either the sales tax revenue or the projects account. As you all know, we transfer money in and out of operating and sales tax revenue, so we do that on an ongoing basis. Linda and Stephen do that on an ongoing basis to make sure we have operating funds. So I would like to suspect that it's in the projects account, and that should be where we pay for it out of.
To state it one more time, when the smoke clears, we've spent exactly what we said we were going to spend as far as our buy-in's concerned.
To the penny, yes, sir.
To the penny, not a penny more or less.
This completes our obligation to put in $2 million into the project.
Any other questions about the Pier 334 update? Hearing none, I'm going to give you a chance to object to adjournment. If I don't hear any, I'm adjourning. We are adjourned at 6:33 p.m.